It is 0 hour 30 Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan has called on Israel to stop blocking air and sea traffic to Lebanon. He made the appeal after meeting in Beirut with Lebanese Prime Minister Fouad Siniora and Hezbollah Cabinet Minister Mohammed Faneish. Mr. Annan also called on Hezbollah to release the 2 Israeli soldiers whose capture started 34 days of fighting in Lebanon. Mr. Annan is expected to visit Israel, Syria, and Iran to discuss the ceasefire there. Turkey says it has agreed to send troops to the UN peacekeeping force, and Italy says it will send 2,500 troops. In Israel, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert announced an investigation into how Israel fought the war against Hezbollah. Israeli forces have killed 6 Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza. Palestinian reports say Israeli troops killed a member of the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigades in the West Bank town of Ramallah. Separately, Palestinian officials say Israeli forces operating in Gaza City killed 5 Palestinians. The officials say 2 of the dead were from Hamas and 2 were from Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas's security guard. They say the 5th victim was a civilian. Iraqi officials say at least 40 Shiite fighters and 20 Iraqi soldiers have died in fighting in the southern Shiite city of Diwaniyah. A United States military official in Baghdad said Iraqi security forces pushed back the attacks after what he called heavy fighting. The fighting began Sunday as Iraqi security forces were collecting illegal weapons from fighters loyal to Shiite leader Muqtada al-Sadr. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has said he wants to disarm fighters like these who are not part of Iraqi security forces. Officials in Turkey are investigating an explosion in the south that killed 3 people and wounded about 20 others. The explosion damaged businesses in the Mediterranean city of Antalya. On Sunday, explosions in Istanbul and Marmaris wounded 27 people, including 10 British visitors. A Kurdish militant group has claimed responsibility for the 2 bombings on Sunday. A United States anti-terrorism official says Iran is providing money to pay for terrorism carried out by the militant group Hezbollah. Stuart Levy told reporters that Iran is a country that includes terrorism in its yearly budget. Mr. Levy is the Undersecretary of the Treasury for Terrorism. He spoke as Iran faces a Thursday United Nations time limit to stop enriching uranium, or the country will face possible restrictions. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Lawyers in the western American state of Colorado say they will not charge suspect John Mark Carr for the killing of 6-year-old Jean-Benet Ramsey 10 years ago. The lawyers say the genetic material from Carr is not the same as that found with Jean-Benet's body. Public Defender Seth Temin criticized the order to bring Mr. Carr home from Thailand more than a week ago, when there was no physical evidence to confirm the charges against him. The United States Space Agency is preparing to return the space shuttle Atlantis to its resting place in the southern state of Florida because of a storm in the Atlantic Ocean. Officials said NASA would keep the shuttle on its launch area if the weather improves. American weather experts say the ocean storm that hit the eastern coast of Cuba earlier is threatening to reach the shuttle launch area in the next several days. People who live in the southern part of the state of Florida are preparing for that storm. Weather reports say it could hit their area exactly 1 year after the storm called Hurricane Katrina damaged the Gulf Coast. Florida Governor Jeb Bush has warned people to take the storm very seriously and make sure they have supplies for the 72 hours after it hits. The storm has caused heavy rains in eastern Cuba and is now over Cuba's northern coast. Tens of thousands of people left that area Sunday. President Bush is visiting the United States Gulf Coast before the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. Mr. Bush met with state and local officials in the city of Biloxi, Mississippi. The President will also travel to the city of New Orleans for a religious service and meetings with officials involved in the rebuilding efforts there. Some areas of the city are still in bad condition. The storm on August 29th of last year severely damaged parts of the states of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. More than 1,300 people died. Reports say Mexico's election committee has rejected the charges of cheating from the disputed presidential election last month. The committee's 7 judges suggested that the charges about the July 2nd vote would not change the result. The election gave Felipe Calderón the lead over Andrés Manuel López Obrador. But the judges did not name Mr. Calderón the winner. They must declare a winner by September 6th. Results from the election showed that Mr. Calderón won by less than 1%. Finally, this news. The woman said to be the oldest person in the world has died in the South American country of Ecuador. Maria Esther de Capovilla was 116 years old. Her granddaughter says she died Sunday in a hospital in the coastal city of Guayaquil. She was suffering from the lung disease pneumonia. The Guinness Book of World Records says the oldest person in the world now is Elizabeth Bolden, who lives in the southern United States. She is also 116 years old. And now, briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan has called on Israel to stop blocking air and sea traffic to Lebanon, and he has called on Hezbollah to release 2 captured Israeli soldiers. In Iraq, at least 40 Shiite fighters and 20 Iraqi soldiers have died in heavy fighting in the south. And an explosion in southern Turkey has killed 3 people after explosions on Sunday wounded more than 20. And that's the news in VOA Special English. This is Jim Tedder reporting.